You may have seen the news yesterday. It came out that my brother decided to step away from the band Need to Breathe after almost 2 decades to spend more time with his family. And it's been an emotional roller coaster over these last couple of days. I really didn't expect this. If you know me, I'm not really an emotional guy. I don't really cry that often or don't get choked up, but I've been getting choked up a lot over the last couple of days, just reflecting about the journey. I mean, I've known that this was coming for a little while now, but now that it's officially out there feels like there's this finality to a chapter. I don't know if you've ever been through that, but there's this finality to a chapter of what was an incredible run, right? And so it's 22 years. If you don't know the band Need to Breathe, they're a Grammy-nominated rock and roll band. They did 81 shows with Taylor Swift back in the day. They've done 6 albums with Atlantic. I mean, pretty massive band. They've had a pretty incredible run. And so what I wanted to do is record this video just as a thank you and a tribute to my brother, to the band, and to all the memories. And so the band's still going on, and they're still doing great things. They're still recording music and all that stuff. But it just made me think about and reflect on what a life-changing experience this has been. And I remember at 8 years old showing up to the Battle of the Bands with my brother. And I remember as an 8-year-old rallying the crowd to cheer for my brother and his band to win the Battle of the Bands. And I was his biggest fan. And it's funny to think and fast forward to over these last couple decades, seeing my brother be one of my biggest fans and one of my biggest cheerleaders, and just seeing how my life and the life of literally, I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands or millions of people, their life's never going to be the same because that band existed. And so I want to say a thank you to my brother for, number one, showing a small town kid that he could do anything. Where we're from, middle of nowhere, South Carolina, it's what he did with his band is it's not on the menu of options. All right. And I remember my brother growing up, he wanted to be in music, and everyone said, Seth, when are you going to quit doing that and get a real job? And I remember, a decade or so later, he came back to me and he said, Chandler, you can be successful at anything you want, and a job or whatever is just convincing someone to pay you to do something. He's right. And he said, people told me, when was I going to quit music and get a real job? Look at me now. I made this into a career. I proved everyone wrong. And so my brother showed me that a small town kid could do anything. He showed me that you could order off the menu. And I remember going to the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor said, hey, there's about 5 options. Based on your test, there's about 5 career paths. And my brother said, no, you can do anything. All right. And so I like to say it's kind of like Davy and Crockett. Like, he blazed the trail for what was possible for me. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at and anywhere near what we've done as a business or in my life if it wasn't for my brother. Secondly, I want to say thank you, Seth, for being my biggest cheerleader and my biggest supporter. There's this weird dynamic that happens when you grow up with a famous older sibling, right? And or maybe maybe for you, what might be relatable is a super successful older sibling. And I remember talking to Aaron Rodgers' brother one time, and talking about how we both kind of share this weird dynamic. I'm like, hey, did you deal with any of this stuff? He's like, yeah, I did. And it's weird because, your older sibling, they get famous, and my brother's a decade older than me. And I just remember, he's 20-something years old with a record deal. I'm maybe 10 or 12 or 15. I remember growing up and having a question, looking around and saying, hey, is this person friends with me because they want to be friends with me? Or is this person friends with me because they're trying to get it to my brother? And it's just a weird feeling. But in that, my brother became my biggest cheerleader. He became my biggest supporter. And so the lesson in here, I think, for anyone watching, especially older siblings, is you've got an incredible opportunity where, as a younger sibling, you can either begrudge them or they can be your biggest cheerleader and biggest fan. And I think sometimes when you got the golden child in your family, and maybe you are that golden child as an older sibling watching this, or maybe you relate to this as the younger sibling, is you've got an opportunity to build up your younger siblings. Like, I never begrudged his success. Sure, maybe I had a chip on my shoulder, but it's because he said he was always building me up, always supporting me, always encouraging me, always introducing me to people. I also want to say thank you to my brother for teaching me how to play the drums. Thank you for teaching me that double kick is for douchebags. And if you can't play it fast enough with one foot, you shouldn't be playing it. All right. There's about 5 people that'll understand that. But shout out to my drummers out there. And I would have never played music, or I've never been a band if it wasn't for my brother. I want to say thank you to my brother for helping me start a band and record our first song. It still exists. You can find it out there. And that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for him, his studio, and recording this. I want to say thank you to my brother for letting me live at your house while I started my first painting business. I'll never forget sleeping on that ratty old couch out in the sunroom, starting the painting business, going out every day, slinging paint jobs, painting houses, and coming back, and there's music happening. You guys are recording in the studio. It's just such a incredible and precious time in my life and in my business journey. I want to say thank you to my brother for just igniting a love in music, even when it drove me crazy in the studio. I remember being in the studio and just, there's kind of like this reality of what it looks like versus what people think it looks like. You think about your favorite band and you think, oh my gosh, what would it be like to be in the studio while they're making music and all that stuff? And yeah, it was an incredible experience. But also what it typically looks like is the same clip being played over and over and over and over again, and just changing the snare a little bit, changing the hi-hat a little bit. And I remember just thinking, gosh, can we just listen to the full song? But it shows you the process of what it actually takes. And that's why you realize why most people don't do it, is because they're not obsessed with the process, right? They don't have the love for the thing they love. They have a love for the outcome of the thing and the end product, but not the process of what it takes to get there, which I think that's a lesson for all of us. Maybe watching this or listening to this is you got to fall in love with the process, whether it's business, whether it's music. And my brother taught me how to fall in love with the process. I want to say thank you to my brother for constantly challenging me to dream big and to think outside the box. I mean, this is one of my brother's biggest strengths. Honestly, he's a creative, he's a musician, and just constantly coming back to me and to my family and saying, have you thought about this? Oh my gosh, what if we did this? And I'm more kind of like the analytical, straight down the fairway business guy. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Is that going to work? Is that going to work? And just constantly shattering realities of what's possible. And I wouldn't be thinking as big as I do. We wouldn't be thinking as big as we do as a family if we didn't have him constantly bringing in crazy, outlandish ideas, dreaming big, thinking outside of the box. I want to say thank you to my brother for just opening more doors for me than I could ever imagine. I always joke with people that I'm in the lucky sperm club. I did absolutely nothing to deserve any of this. I just got lucky, right? And because of that luck, from a young age, I was able to go to all these concerts. I was able to meet all these people. I mean, absolutely incredible. Just backstage experiences, meeting all kinds of crazy artists. Never would have gotten that to happen if it wasn't for my brother. And then in business, I mean, just the fact that I have a brother in Need to Breathe opened all these doors that's helped me get to where I am today. I want to say thank you to my brother for encouraging me to write my first book. This might be one of the most crazy and impactful things that happened. And for those of you who don't know, we actually wrote our first book together. It's called Breaking Out of a Broken System. And it's about all the things we learned growing up from my parents that we thought were normal, but then we got on the real world, realized no one gets taught this stuff. And it was our perspective on these 15 things. It was me as a business guy, him as a musician, kind of right brain, left brain, creative, on these 15 things. And that book sparked another one and another one. And that those sparked a whole business now with selfpublishing.com. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my brother and my brother pushing me and having these crazy ideas and saying, hey, let's do this. Right? And then lastly, I just want to say a thank you to my brother for showing what it looks like to put your family first, even when it's hard, right? He's making this decision. It's got me choked up just hearing it, of, being on tour and coming back and then realizing that his daughter, Amma, calls the phone dada, right? She doesn't call him dada because he's always on the road. And so this is just another example of saying, hey, he's 2 steps ahead of me. This is what it looks like to put your family first, even when it's hard, even when it's unpopular, even when it sometimes means you're giving up something that you really love, like being a part of this band. I mean, he loves it. We all love it. But sometimes you got to put your foot in the ground and say, hey, family comes first. I also want to say thank you to Need to Breathe. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for decades of memories. Thank you for dozens. I don't even know how many dozens or hundreds of just awesome shows. Thank you for giving me an excuse to skip school to go to your shows. I remember the only time I ever got to skip school in high school was to go to a Need to Breathe concert down in Florida at a theme park. And so thank you for that. Thank you for bringing me on the road. When I launched my business, it was on the road in Australia with Need to Breathe, with the guys of Third Day. I think maybe Ben Rector or somebody else was on that tour. Just an incredible time. And that is when the business actually got birthed. I want to thank you to Need to Breathe for the yearly trips to Red Rocks. I would probably never went to Red Rocks Amphitheater if it wasn't for you guys. I definitely would have never seen the backstage, which is it's incredible, once in a lifetime experience. And we got to do those trips every single year. And thank you guys for the automatic touch points with my family. When I think about some of the best memories and some of the best moments with my family over the last couple of decades, it's at those shows, right? It's an automatic excuse. You know, hey, we're going to get together for a couple holidays a year. We're going to get together for maybe a Clemson football game or two, and we're going to get together for one or two Need to Breathe shows. Right? It was just automatic. Mark your calendars. If they're playing at Red Rocks, we're going there. Right? If you guys are playing near us in one of our cities, we're going. I want to say thank you guys for getting me to show up to 4 Taylor Swift shows. These are the only Taylor Swift shows I've ever been to, and quite frankly, probably ever will go to. But incredible experience. Would have never happened without you guys. I want to say thank you to Need to Breathe for the backstage passes, for meeting incredible people. I remember playing frisbee backstage with Ben Rector. I remember meeting just incredible artists, you know, running into Conan O'Brien at backstage at my first ever Bonnaroo and introducing me to music festivals. I remember, I'll never forget this, going to Bonnaroo, never heard of it, show up there, we're getting the passes with my dad, and me and my dad look down, and we're in line. It's just like the artist line, and we're in line to get these passes. And all we know is we're just showing up to some festival to see Need to Breathe. And then I say, let me get one of those programs. I open up the program, and I mean, it's every band I could have probably ever wanted to see. It's, I mean, Creedence Clearwater Revival, John Fogerty, it's Eminem, it's Jay-Z, it's Dave Matthews Band, it's Kings of Leon. It's, I mean, especially back then, the lineups were absolutely incredible. I just remember looking at that program and turning to my dad and saying, we got to go to this whole festival. And it was just a core memory because we said, yeah, let's do it. And I remember driving till 2 a.m. to find a hotel room because all of them were booked up. But last minute, we went to a whole Bonnaroo festival. Me and my dad just had the time of our life, seeing every band we could have ever imagined, experiencing this music festival that we didn't even know existed. And it's one of the all-time memories for me and my dad and our family that wouldn't have happened without you guys. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you for letting me ride the bus. I know from the time I was a little kid, just riding the bus with you guys or hopping on tour for something or seeing a show. I know I've probably bugged the crap out of you guys over a long period of time. I appreciate you guys putting up with me and just making me feel part of the family. I mean, there's a Need to Breathe family that exists out there. I think there's a reason why the band's been so successful. That's because you have incredible music and incredible fans, and you create a family-like environment of people who resonate and people who feel a part, right? Even just the Outsiders album, we're the outsiders, right? Those people don't accept us. Those people don't accept us. We're the outsiders. And so there's this community of outsiders, and I just want to thank you guys for including me as part of that community. So that's it. That's my thank you and tribute to Seth Bolt, my brother, and a thank you and tribute to Need to Breathe. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Here's my challenge for you. If you're watching this video, maybe you're just watching this because you're a Need to Breathe fan or because you know me, you know my family, or maybe you're watching this thinking, hey, I've got someone in my life like that. And so my challenge to you is 2 things. Number 1, I want you to think of who is that person for you that's inspired you like my brothers inspired me. Comment below. I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to hear about that person. Who is that person for you? Right? My life would never be the same if I didn't have an older brother that was amazing like Seth. Right? And chances are you probably got someone in your life like that as well. And then secondly, this might be the more important question. Who can you be that person for? You ever think about that? right? Maybe you're the older brother, like my brother was, and he was that person for me. So maybe you got a younger sibling that you can invest in them, you can inspire them, you can encourage them, you can raise them up. Well, think about that person and go be intentional about that. Or maybe you don't have that person, you need to come up with one, right? So think about those two things. Comment below. Let me know who those people are. I appreciate you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.